Hello, everyone. Welcome back. You're watching Better for America, sponsored by AMAC, and we are live at CPAC. Joining me now is our dear friend, Dr. Sebastian Gorka. He was former deputy assistant to President Trump. Dr. Gorka, I love when you join me on this show. Thank you for being here.
It's almost as good as when you come on my show.
Ah, yes, that is a lot of fun too. I love that. So, here at CPAC, tell me, what are you hearing? What's going on in the rooms? What are people talking about? There's a lot of people that are listening here are paying attention to what's going on out here, not so much about the speakers.
Right.
So tell us what you've heard and what you've loved hearing so far.
Well, of course, the most important thing is, the last speaker on Saturday, that's my former boss, President Trump. So everybody, you better tune in, catch that on CPAC's live stream. There is a common refrain, however, amongst the majority of the speakers, and it has to do with that cliche in politics that we've heard every 2 years for the last 50 years, that this election is going to be the most important in your lifetime. Everybody's heard that before. This time it actually is true. Because the people in power, the Democrat Party of today, is not your father's Democrat Party, it's not your grandfather's, it's not JFK's party. He wouldn't be allowed into the Democrat Party. We have an elite running this country that basically hates America. And if there is a second Biden administration, all the things they floated will happen. Lowering the voting age to 16, packing the Supreme Court, redistricting the boundaries in America, which really means the death of Republican freedom and the politics of being able to choose who runs the country. So my message, the one I gave this morning from the main stage, is very clear. If you're a patriot and if you're a Christian, you have no option but to be involved. This idea that politics is for somebody else, that's dead, that's gone. When people are being forced to put masks on their children to go to school, when you lose your job because you refuse to take a vaccine, politics has found you already.
That's right. Yeah.
So, it's what is it? Benjamin Franklin was asked by a little old lady after the founding fathers came out of one of their seminal meetings, and this lady said, "What do we have?" And Franklin said, "A republic for as long as you can keep it." The question is, can we keep it?
Can we keep it?
Because right now, and this isn't just American phenomena, we saw this in the UK, we saw it in Argentina, we saw it all kinds of places. We have this truly perverse situation, Rebecca, where in so many of our countries, the political elite, the people who run those countries, including America, hate their own country. It's so strange. I mean, remember what Obama said?
Yeah.
I'm going to fundamentally change America. I mean, if I told my wife, I'm going to fundamentally change you, I think there would be a problem with our marriage.
Sure thing.
You don't love something and then want to fundamentally change it. So we're in this strange, bizarre world where we have people who hate America running America.
And we've never seen two people vying for president, that is Joe Biden and Donald J. Trump, so different. And when I say different, I mean one stands for law and order,
Yeah.
the other one believes lawfare is okay.
Yeah.
One is saying we need to protect our kids, what's happening in our public schools. The other says make sure you call them whatever they want to be called for today and protect those who are what I call suffering from a mental sickness. We need to help these people and not shove down our children's throats this terrible pornography in schools. I mean, it's mind-boggling that this is happening. It's crazy to say that we've had almost 10 million people cross our border, and what that does to the economy. Not to mention on the national security front. And that's where I want to ask you, because you are a genius in this department in many areas, but you really have a very good understanding of who is our adversary, who should we be concerned about, and what is the number one threat in your mind to America? Is it China?
Yeah.
Is it Russia? Is it North Korea? Is it all of the above?
In the latest AMAC magazine, I have a piece on China, which my background is in counterterrorism, and that's what I expected to do in the White House. But once you get the clearances, once you read the presidential daily briefing, you realize that the only strategic threat from the outside is China. We can deal with Russia, we can deal with Iran, we can deal with North Korea. China wants to replace us. They have an initiative, the One Belt, One Road. They have a whole concept of irregular warfare that they want to use to become the hegemonic power in the world. So China is the external threat. And President Trump, God bless him, understands that and did a great deal to level the playing field there. However, and it goes to the point you mentioned, there is a larger immediate threat inside our country. I had Stephen Miller, the genius behind the president's immigration policies, on my radio show for an hour a few weeks ago. And I asked Stephen, so how many illegals do we have in America? Because we've heard this figure for about 40 years, it's 12 million. Well, it can't be 12 million for 40 years. It can't be static. And he said, Sebastian, I've done the math. We have at least 40 million people in America who are illegal and who are expecting what? To be amnestied, to be given citizenship, and then the Democrats have their new political plantation of voters who they think, because they're so racist, if you've got brown skin, you're going to be a Democrat. I mean, that's how bigoted.
That's sick,
that's
yeah.
so bigoted, right? That your political identity depends upon your skin pigmentation. But beyond that, racism, let's just do one thought exercise. There's a function inside the US military now called red teaming. Next to the theater commander, there'll be a senior officer whose job is to run a red team, and they are supposed to try and think like the enemy. So if they're in the Middle East, in CENTCOM, they're supposed to think like Hezbollah, Hamas, the Iranian regime. If they're in the Pacific region, they're supposed to think like Communist China. Let's red team together now for a moment. If I'm Al-Qaeda, if I'm ISIS, if I'm Hezbollah, if I'm Hamas, if I'm a criminal cartel, and I know that the American government is the only developed nation in the world that doesn't have borders, what am I going to do, Rebecca?
Sure.
What am I going to do?
Common sense. You're going to want to get over here and take it.
Yeah.
Take it.
You're going to, we have...
You're going to want to infiltrate. You're
Exactly.
going to want to invade.
That's the word. And if we know that there are 8 million illegals have been let in, that we know of because there's this phrase, the gotaways. We don't know how many gotaways there are because that's the definition of the gotaways.
Sure thing.
So let's say it's double. So let's say it's 8 plus 8, 16 million people in 3 years. If 1%, just 1% of them are ISIS, Al-Qaeda, MS-13, do the math. That is divisional-sized assets have invaded our country. And let's go back in time. How many people perpetrated the greatest terrorist attack on US soil? Well, in modern history, 19. 19 men killed 3,000 Americans in 102 minutes. If we have thousands or tens of thousands of enemy operatives on US soil because of open borders, I think the conversation stops there and you realize this is just the biggest national security threat you can imagine short of nuclear war.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much to be concerned about. It is very personal. People do need to wake up. I've been telling people, if you don't feel impacted yet, it's coming. Yeah. You will.
Right.
Know who you're voting for. Right. If you see something strange, say something. Right. Another area that just blows my mind is the rise of anti-Semitism that we see here in the United States, especially around young people. Yes. Coming out of these colleges and universities, how could that be? That our young people are waving around and saying, free Palestine from the river to the sea. Which is
a genocidal chant.
Is this something that is happening sort of, or it seems they're going after our children. When I say they, I mean an extreme left, an ideology that seems to be very evil. Yeah. What should people, how should people handle this? What can people do, our very members who are listening?
Well, wake up. First, wake up. This didn't happen under Biden. This didn't happen under Obama. Let me share a history. So I had a fellowship at Harvard in 1998. And I was a month into my fellowship at the Kennedy School, and I received an email on my student address saying, Sebastian, welcome to Harvard. Next week we are having the meeting of the Harvard Gay and Lesbian Students Association. And I had a 1-year-old. My wife had just given birth at Brigham and Women's. We were, it was penury. I was on a, fellowship stipend. So I was just surviving, looking after my family. And I wrote a curt but polite response. Thank you for your invitation. I'm a happily married heterosexual. I will not be attending the meeting. The very next day, Rebecca, I was called onto the carpet by the dean of the Kennedy Government School at Harvard to justify my bigoted email because I'm a married man with children who doesn't want to go to the Gay and Lesbian Students Association. That's 1998. So conservatives need to understand this has been going on for generations, and we just ignored it. We said, oh, we trust them. I went to that college. I'm a legacy. My kids will be fine there. Lenin said it. Hitler said it. Give me their children. I will own the future. The idea that there are 40 to 60% of young Americans don't know what the Holocaust is or think it's fabricated. What? That's how you get from the river to the sea chanted on the streets of New York or outside the White House. So, as the great late Andrew Breitbart said, we need to wake up that politics is downstream from culture. Every good conservative can quote him and, oh yeah, Andrew, he said, okay, but what does that sentence mean? It's not a throwaway, it's a deep philosophical, he didn't discover that, he just made it very catchy. It means the following. By the time an issue of import, abortion, the border, the economy arrives to this stinking cesspit of Washington, D.C., by the time it's in Congress, it has been settled and done and dusted in the culture 20 years ago.
Wow.
In Hollywood, in the mainstream media, in our school. The idea that we will fix stuff in Capitol Hill is like, no. They've already indoctrinated your children. They've already sold, gay marriage as, something for sitcoms. We have to understand,
right.
conservatives kind of left the culture to the radicals.
That's right.
And now we have to create our own. I mean, I had the new president of the Heritage Foundation on my radio show, literally the week he was inaugurated. And he's a fourth-generation educator. He ran a Catholic college in Texas. His mom, his granddad, I mean, the whole family are educators. And I said to Kevin at the end of the interview, and I was shocked by his response. I said, I love the school boards and the moms standing up and taking back our schools. What about higher ed? You run a college. Can we fix higher ed? Kevin Roberts, Dr. Kevin Roberts, live in front of 3.5 million listeners said, no, Sebastian, we need to burn it to the ground.
Ooh, yeah.
If he says it is irredeemable, well, then we have to say, what Kevin Costner said in that movie, build it and they will come. Whether it's Liberty, whether it's Hillsdale, whether it's Grove City, whether it's, wouldn't it be nice if the majority of children were homeschooled in America?
Yeah.
I mean, God bless the Chinese and COVID, because at least, a sizable proportion of parents said, what is my kid learning on Zoom?
That's exactly
White
right.
people are racists and America is bad. A, homeschool your kids if you can. B, don't give a stinking cent to your alma mater if they're peddling garbage like Harvard, where genocide of the Jews depends upon the context in which it is chanted, according to Claudine Gay. I mean, these entities are indoctrination mills. Period. End of story.
Wow. I didn't hear Dr. Kevin Roberts say that, but boy, I believe it. We have to believe it. We have to believe it. And here's the thing, like you said, the chips are high. This is the time. If we don't mobilize, get together as a country, as conservatives, and really band together and show up and turn out, I'm afraid what might happen. Final question before you run. How secure or how confident are you that our elections will be free and fair? And I've asked you this before, but I do have hope. I have hope. I see a lot of work going on.
Yeah.
And what happens if another election is stolen?
To the first part of that question, a lot of work has been done. At least 21 states have passed legislation to defend against what Nancy did in 2020. So she's not the speaker. God bless Mike Johnson. they're not going to be, unless Wuhan drops, COVID-24 in the next few weeks, we won't have 81 million ballots mailed out. So that's something. But 21 out of 50 is not enough. My answer is very simple. I'm not going to answer the question, what happens if he doesn't win, because he must win, and it's up to us. So how do we guarantee that? I think I told you this story before. You've met my wife, Katie.
Yes.
So November before last, where was I for the midterms? I was at Mar-a-Lago because that was the day President Trump announced his re-election campaign. Where's my wife? She leaves the house at 4:30 in the morning, and I'm still eating the coconut shrimp at Mar-a-Lago, and I see on my phone on the security cameras that she comes home at 10:30. So where has she been for 18 hours? She's the chief election officer for our district of the Commonwealth of Virginia. And I can guarantee you something. My wife, who hates politics because she's sane, right?
Yeah.
She did that to guarantee that there's no funny business during the midterms. So guess what? If my wife, Katie, who detests politics,
Yes.
can
She
do
can
an
do it.
18-hour day to secure the republic, what's your excuse? And I tell this to my listeners, my viewers, I can't tell you. And maybe people get pissed off. I really don't care. The biggest question I get asked at these events, when I'm traveling the country, I'll have people come up to me and say, are we going to win? Are we going to win? And I say, what do you mean are we? What the hell are you doing about it to make sure we win? Don't look at me. It's not, the nation's future is not somebody else's problem to fix. It's your problem. If you're not running for the local school board, if you're not helping somebody who is, if you're not doing what my wife and her team in the last election knocked on 18,000 doors.
Wow.
Not 800, not 8,000, 18,000. If I can do that, if my wife can do that, nobody has an excuse. You don't even have to be physically fit. You can be in a wheelchair at home working a phone bank
That's exactly
for the election. So
Yeah.
take responsibility, not just for your life and your family. Take responsibility for our republic, because it is our republic.
To save. Absolutely. Dr. Sebastian Gorka, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
being with me.
Anytime.
Always enjoy that.
Anytime.
And for all of you out there watching, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.